Hey, this is Mohammed, and in this tutorial, I'm going to be making a katana using Blender. So this tutorial is meant for those who want to get into making models in Blender but don't know exactly where to start. And since modeling is the first step in creating any asset or object for an animation or game, I think this is going to be a perfect start. So to start, I'm going to add a reference image by pressing Shift A, and that brings up the add menu. So here you can add any mesh or light source, but in this case I'm going to add a reference image. And so this is a reference image I found online, but you can use any that you've drawn or any other katana image you found online. So I'm going to just change the rotations to have it facing the Y direction because that's the view I want to work in. So I'm going to change to 90, 1, and then 180. Okay, so I'm going to move this cube down here, and I'm going to scale it by pressing S. That's going to scale it all the way down. I'm going to scroll using scroll wheel. I'm going to line this up roughly where this corner starts. So I'm going to be making the handle first. And okay, I pressed tab to select edit mode, and I pressed viewport shading to see through the cube. And actually, I'm going to move this image back so this doesn't go through it. I'm going to select the image and just move it back in the Y direction. Okay. So I'm going to go back into edit mode by selecting tab. I'm going to press C to use a circle tool, and I'm going to move both the vertices selected, and I'm going to move it to that corner there. So now I'm just going to do the same for all of them. Okay, so now that I have all the corners where I want them to be, I'm going to use the loop cut tool, which will allow me to make cuts in this and then modify those vertices. So I made a loop cut, but then I can go down here, loop cut and slide. I can select cuts to be equally distributed across. So I'm going to choose 8 cuts. I'm going to go to the move tool. I'm going to do the same thing I did with these corners, and I'm going to move them so that they match the shape of the handle. Okay, and this last one. Okay, so we have the basic shape for our handle. Now if we look here, okay, so this handle is a little too thick for my liking. So I'm going to change the scale in the Y direction. I'm gonna make this a little thinner. I think that's good. I want more of a squarish face on the front here. A little rectangular, but mostly square. And I'm gonna go back and see if there are any more place where I can loop cut. So I think I can add one vertically here and then horizontally this way because these are bulging out a little. So I'm going to add another loop cut. Go to edit mode there and make a loop cut there. Gonna go to move tool and I'm going to select C, move that up a little bit, that down, and I'm going to move this out. And that is the basic shape of our handle. Just go back to viewport shading. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, we're just gonna go back to viewport. Yeah, viewport shading. And I'm going to select these two faces. So we were originally in vertex mode, but select in face mode, we click on here, or we press 3 on the number pad, and I'm going to go here, select these two faces, and I'm going to dissolve faces, and that is going to combine them, which will make it easier to make our guard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this using the extrude tool. So extrude will basically extend this face and make it go out however far as we want. But I'm not going to extrude it normally just yet. I'm going to use the extrude tool or press E on the keyboard, and I'm going to let go by pressing right click instead of left click, because left click would normally make the extrusion stay where it is, but I'm going to right click, and that's going to make it go back, creating a face on top of the face that I extruded. Okay, so now I'm going to press scale to scale it, and I'm going to adjust where the guard starts right there, and I'm going to extrude that normally. Okay, so now as you can see, that's a pretty nice extrusion right there. I like that. And it matches our katana. So now I'm just going to go back to viewport shading, and I'm going to adjust this just a little bit so it matches. C, move tool, just a little bit. And then just gently there. All right. Actually, probably just keep it like that. All right, so that's our guard. I think it looks pretty nice. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to start with the blade. And I want the entire thing to be just one object rather than making separate objects like this handle part and then make the blade separately. So I want to make the blade come out of the guard here, and I'm going to do that by selecting face select, and then I'm going to go to inset, which is this tool. Select that face, and I'm going to go into Y view. I'm just going to call this, if I say Y view, that means this view, the view I'm working with this. And I'm going to drag, I'm going to hold and drag until it matches roughly the blade's width. So roughly about this much. So this face is about the width of the blade. So I'm going to make this thinner. I'm going to make this thinner by selecting scale, pressing S, and then pressing Y to scale it in the Y direction. So this is going to be very thin, making it about this thin. And that should be, I think, a good thickness for our blade. So here's the thickness of our blade, and for now I'm selecting edge select, and I'm just going to get rid of these edges over here by holding down shift and selecting them. And I think also get rid of these because they're unnecessary. I'll just get rid of all the unnecessary edges that we don't need. So I'm going to press delete, and then I'm going to dissolve edges. And some of these, as you can see, won't dissolve because some of them some of the faces are meshed together somewhat weirdly. So I'm going to dissolve them again. That doesn't work. It's fine. We'll come back to it and we'll just tidy it up afterwards. But for right now, let's just focus on the blade. So I'm going to select the blade right over here. And I'm going to I'm going to extrude it all the way like that so that it almost pretty much till the blade. So I extend the blade out, and I'm just going to select this and make it touch that very tip of the blade right around there. And obviously, as you can see, it's supposed to be curved, not straight out like that. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the handle, and I'm going to add edge loops to this using the edge loop tool, loop cut tool. Okay, and I'm going to loop cut. First, I'm going to go into viewport shading, and I'm going to add about, I think, 15 cuts is good. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the handle, and I'm going to go and select every vertice, go to vertex select tool, vertex select mode, sorry, and individually just go down on those. Gonna move these down first. Just matching the curve of the blade, because katanas are very curved. Okay, so I got the tip kind of matched, but now I'm going to delete this edge loop because it's going to create problems for me if I try to move any of these upper vertices down. So I'm going to press Alt. Actually first need to go to edge select and press Alt. I'm just gonna select this entire edge loop all the way across the blade, and I'm gonna go to the back one and press Shift Alt select both of them. So now I have them selected, I'm just gonna press delete, and I'm gonna press dissolve edges, and now those edges are gone and I don't need them. Okay, so for this one, I'm just gonna I'm gonna go to edit mode, vertices. I'm gonna select this and move it up just a little because I don't want too much space. I think this is about good. Or I can add more edge loops here. I'll add one right there, and I'll move that one down, and I'm gonna move that one up a little, and that pretty much matches the end of the blade. So now I'm gonna go back and do it for these. Gonna match the oops. I'm going to match the vertices for these. This down a little more. Okay, just a few more. Okay. And that matches with the... So now our katana is almost complete. Katana is pretty much complete. I think it looks great. You have the blade and the handle and the guard all match up. Gonna put this. Yep, it all matches up. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna add some finishing touches to this. So because we had an equal width on the blade, the entire blade is equal in width, but the bottom is not sharp as it should be. So I'm going to go to edge select mode, and I'm going to, if I run an edge loop, if I select the entire edge loop here, will it select all of them? No. Okay. So I'm just going to select, oops, I'm going to select that. So I'm selecting that edge loop and Shift Alt select that loop. I'm going to select that edge over there. And now I'm just going to, scale them in the Y direction. So that should make them a line. I'm going to give you a better view of this. So I'm going to make it sharper. Scale this S, Y. That will scale it. Oh, okay, never mind. That's not going to do it. Scale Y. And that's going to scale it down all the way until you get a very thin. You're gonna get a very thin face there, but it's gonna look very sharp. It's gonna look really nice. It's gonna add a nice touch to your katana, make it look as sharp as it would in real life. And yeah, I think we're done with the blade. So the tip is very sharp, and the shape of it is just very nice. And also I'm going to, it's not a huge issue, but I'm going to remove some of these edges over here. Actually, I probably won't. It won't be much of a problem if I don't remove these. This is just a modeling tutorial, and it wouldn't be that hard to just get rid of them by yourself. So I'm going to go back to these. I'm going to go back to the handle and make it a little more round. It's a little more appealing. So, you know, it doesn't look like you're going to cut your hand on one of these. So I'm going to select the edge loop by pressing Alt. No, that's just going to select the whole thing. So I think it's better if I actually do get rid of these. I didn't realize. So I'm going to select all these and delete all edges. That doesn't work because some of these are meshed together weirdly. So I'm going to do delete, and then just delete the edges. And it's gonna make it look weird. It's gonna not have any front or back faces, but I'm just gonna fill that in. I'm going to select these vertices. Actually, I could just select the edges, and that would be just totally fine. So I select these edges. I'm going to press fill, and that will fill them. I'm going to do the same for these. That right click and fill, and then I can just get rid of dissolve edges, and then dissolve edges. I'm also going to make sure that there are no gaps between them because that might happen. But there seems to be no gaps. Yeah, so all those weird edge loops are gone now. And now I can do this. I'm going to select this edge loop. Actually, I'm going to select all of them. So Shift Alt, select each of these edge loops, and I'm going to use the bevel tool, and that'll just create a face in between each of these edges, and it'll smooth things out. Just make it a little rounder, and that just make it, yeah. Add a little more. I don't know if I should make it a little more. No, that's just gonna mess it up. So I'm just gonna add one layer bevel. Now adding a second layer would be too much. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. And that looks pretty good. In my opinion, that looks pretty good for a handle. Yeah, looks pretty comfortable to hold. And this katana looks pretty good. So this is my basic katana modeling tutorial. And I hope you guys like it. I know some of these can be fixed, some of these edges can be removed, but this is just a simple modeling tutorial. All those things you'll have to deal with if you're texturing it or something, or if you're sculpting it or whatever, adding anything that requires you to delete these edges, these weird edge loops over here. But other than that, I think this looks perfect. I mean, if I were to go out of edit mode, I think this is a nice looking katana. And yeah, that was my tutorial. Thank you for watching and have a good day.